welcome, and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. Joining us here on the program today is a pioneer in the contemporary feminine spirituality of the founder of the Awakening Women Institute. Our guest has inspired thousands of women around the world with her breakthrough methods for living and embodying feminine awakening. She is also especially appreciated for her love of mythology and storytelling as a method for illuminating our hidden strengths and beauty. She's also the initiator of the International Network of Women's Temple Groups and the author of 2 books on feminine spirituality and embodiment. I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today our guest, Shamali Arda. Shamali, thank you for joining us here on the program today.
Hello, good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, let's talk about what it is that you do here, how our guests can come to understand how important this really is.
Yes. Well, of course, this is my life's work, so I'm going to be very biased. I'm going to be very passionate about this. And of course, I am speaking about this work in the context that there are so many paths and so many ways that we can wake up and contribute to the world. And this is one of them. And this is a specific path for women, and it is attractive women who perhaps have some kind of spiritual background, but have found that most of the religion and spiritual paths that we have today, they were created by men, for men, so that we are coming together now to explore what does it mean to explore this through women. And we are thousands of women from all over the world exploring this in a very open way, in a very non-dogmatic way. That's one of the core principles of our practice, is to really explore just how can the wisdom of life be expressed and given through women without too much ideas of how that should look like. Because we are living in a time right now where we just have to, gather whatever resources we have and explore whatever solutions or new opportunities we have in order to create a world that is more aligned with our heart and the wisdom in our heart.
Now, I'm just taking a stretch here because we're, having a presidential election, and for the first time in the history of the United States, we've got a woman, Hillary Clinton. What are your thoughts about the feminine energy when it's in that particular light?
Yes. I think that there are many women, at least the women that I meet and talk to, that doesn't really feel that the feminine in per se is represented through the form of Hillary Clinton, that Hillary Clinton, in order to play the game at the level that she's doing, she has somehow excelled and can show that she can play the game that it was already created by men, and that's how she becomes so powerful. And this is one step of our evolution for sure, and an important step. But the way that I view it is that our project is not only to play the game, to prove that we can play the game as good as men in some kind of competitive mode, but also explore the next step, which is that the game that we are playing was created by men. And not only, when I speak about men, I don't speak about men as that is something wrong, but where it became very imbalanced is, of course, that it's men without women. So it's just half of the world's population that has been influencing this game that we are playing. So many of us, we have hope that a woman will change the game. And I personally come from Norway, so I have seen the effect. It is changing the game when women come into government. In Norway, we have this law that 50% of the government needs to be women. And it has changed the agenda and what we speak about as our what's the focus, and then what we as a society find important. But what we also see is that there is more to explore, that we can explore feminine power not only as a reaction to suppression, but actually what is it in itself, and how can we influence the game we're playing for the benefit of all of us.
Now, I understand that there's a particular medicine that the feminine can bring into the world at this time. Let's talk about what that is, what that means.
Yeah. It is a paradox because I work with women in women's circles, but I'm not so fond of this very stark contrast or the way we define masculine and feminine or women and men as totally different, because I don't experience it in that way. But there are some qualities that we collectively can call feminine, and I think that we all have different ways that we define that. But this that we call the feminine medicine is not only through women. In one way it's wrong to call it feminine, but we do it for the sake of conversation right now. And what I see is the return of the feminine now also in our spirituality and in our hopefully also in our political arena, is that we are just bringing an understanding of what we are part of, a wholeness that we are part of. And when I speak, you can hear that this is, of course, not only women bringing this, but we are bringing a reminder of that we are part of a big, vast picture here, a vast tapestry of life, and that everything that we do influences this tapestry, and the tapestry is always influencing us. And that will hopefully wake us up from this fragmentation that we live in, where we only focus on one little part and we focus on the body and earth as objects that we can exploit and control and modify and judge. And this state of consciousness, of fragmentation, of separation, is what most of the wisdom teachings are calling the root. The Buddhists call it the root disease. It's the root of all suffering. It's just the way we view ourselves as separate from all. Like Einstein, he called it an optical illusion of the human mind, that we perceive ourselves as separate. And this caused so many dysfunctional actions that we live in a consequence of today. So the practices that I do with women, that we are doing in these circles, are really a journey back to wholeness, to see how we can connect with life not as an object or as an abstract theory, but actually as a felt sense of belonging and responsibility.
You know, you think about this whole thing, and sometimes people might get a better perspective of what embodiment is. Let's talk about what the feminine embodied spirituality feels or looks like.
Yes, and the term embodiment is, of course, just a way to express a state of mind or a state of consciousness that makes us perceive ourselves as disembodied. I call it the disease of this embodiment, which is really so permeating our whole society today. But of course, we are never not in our bodies. We're always in our bodies. It's just that our experience is not always like that. And there is a beautiful myth from the Greek mythology that shows that. I'm just going to shortly tell this myth, because this myth is really showing us this disease of disembodiment and how that has influenced our life and that which we are living in the consequences of today. And this myth is from the very beginning of the universe, and it is a myth about Gaia, Mother Earth, and she's alone in the vast universe. And she's very attractive. She's this beautiful planet. And Uranus, which means the sky, Father Sky, he's very attracted to her. And he lays himself upon her. So they are making love, and they are so one in such a union that heaven and earth at this point are one. And out of this union, all the creatures in the world are born. The people, plants, trees, planets, the universes, all are born out of this union. But not all of the children are pretty children. Some of the children are monsters and trolls. And Uranus, when he discovers these children, he feels very ashamed. He doesn't want them. and he wants them to go away. So what he does is that he hides them in the underworld. He hides them down into the basement, down inside Gaia, and then he kind of pretends that they are not there. And this goes on for a long time until Gaia, Mother Earth, she discovers what he's doing, and she gets very angry, and she calls upon her son Kronos, which means time, and Kronos comes with his knife and he cuts off the genitals of Uranus, which is quite a violent part of the story, where he then escapes up far, 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 far above where he has been ever since. And this is the moment where heaven and earth, sky and earth, were split. And this story is in the very beginning of what we call Western civilization. So what this story is mirroring to us is really what happened inside our psyche, where we can recognize that part of us, the Uranus part of us, that's just split off, and begins to then, from that perspective, when we begin to identify with the split off Uranus, we begin to view Earth as an object to fear and to control. We begin to view those parts of ourselves, the trolls and the monsters, as unwanted, and we try to hide them down in the basement. But of course, we know that they don't go away. In psychology, they call this the shadow. They go into our shadow, and they have their own life there without consciousness. And what we are seeing today in the world is a lot of expression of those unconscious parts of humanity that nobody wants to take responsibility for. And they are just playing themselves out like teenagers without parental supervision. So all of this is just, this myth is showing us what happened within our idea world. It doesn't really happen. We never split off from Earth. We are 100% Earth. The body is made of earth and wind and fire and water, all the same things that everything around us is made of. But within us is that sense of disembodiment, of identification with Uranus. So a lot of our practices is really to descend down into a self-experience of the world from the inside out, and also to deal with the monsters that we maybe have pushed down in the basement, and welcome them to the table and say, okay, I don't maybe particularly like you, but you're part of the family, and I'm going to, be conscious of you so you don't create more havoc.
Now, when you think about all this, especially this day and age, we certainly need more people to sort of take charge and lead. And what you're talking about here isn't certainly a passive thing that you go and you show up and you follow somebody who's, doing all the action here. So what does it really mean to be a feminine leader?
Yes, it is, as you said, that it is really something that we need to tap into from the inside out. There's nothing it's not really something that we can just read about. That is useful too, but in order to fully step into this, it is, as I have mentioned before, a descent into the body. And for me, feminine leadership has a lot to do with really investigate what it is that I have in my lifetime been given as what is it that I feel is important. What is it that I value? And to step into a commitment, a committed relationship to those values. We have another myth, and this is one of the reasons why I connect also with Portland and this area now, is that we are exploring another goddess. We're going to explore another goddess in the live workshops that we're going to do, and this goddess is Durga, and she's an archetype of feminine leadership or feminine empowerment, and where she draws her power from, the way that I relate to all of these goddesses and myths are like mirrors. They are reflecting back to us gifts and pathways and maps for us to really step into and be. And Durga, she's mirroring back to us this place of fully stepping into what she loves, what she cares for, and take leadership for that. And we can see in the myth about Durga is that she really at one point saves the whole universe. She's stepping into the world in a time where there are demons that have taken over the world. And the scenario that is described in this myth, and so many of these myths are very similar to the scenario that we see in the world today. And this is how we can see that these myths have been passed on from among human beings forever, and they are like maps of our psyches and our place in the world. And this situation where Durga comes in is a situation where the demons are not really like evil, they are just aspects of our psyche and of the world that just, it's not so good if they have too much power. It becomes imbalanced. And Durga, she defeats these demons simply from the strength of her love and her commitment. So part of what part of the resources that I use as a feminine leader, so to speak, is really a dedication that I dedicate why I'm here to this big tapestry of life, to realize that I have one thread here. I am one thread in this tapestry of life, and my actions and my words are influencing this tapestry, and the tapestry is influencing me. So it's to draw strength for what I really care for and to dedicate it to something bigger than myself. And there are many more aspects of feminine leadership. I'm just trying to bring some of them to the table here now.
Now, one thing about leadership is being very aware, especially of self. And one of those is that you hear people talk about Dharma, and living your Dharma, being present or being authentic in it. What does that mean exactly?
Yes. Dharma is used, the word Dharma. I love the word because it is giving us a little bit more nuanced and broader definition of purpose, life purpose. When we speak about my life purpose, it can feel almost like a pressure, or I have to find this life purpose. And oftentimes we think about it in terms of a job. And Dharma is it's much more intimate and closer to you than a job. You are living, your Dharma is what moves you right now. Dharma is not only human. A flower has its own Dharma, and a dog has its own Dharma. And it's, again, how I define it is that it is the unique thread of you in the last tapestry of life. So it's uniquely you, but it is also influenced by everything around it. So the closer we come to that, it's almost like a vibration of yourself. And it's oftentimes so close to yourself that you don't even notice it, but other people can know your Dharma. They know the unique flavor of you. And the closer we can live to that vibration of ourselves, the more fulfilling our life will be. But so often we very early begin to listen to and get told who we should be, and we begin to compare ourselves with others and begin to look out there for the right way to be, and then we can end up spending our lives next to our Dharma. We spend our life leaning away from the Dharma, trying to be more like the person next to us or the person in the paper. So we think that's success. But in these teachings around Dharma, it says that it's intrinsically successful when you live close to what you are here to live. That is fulfilling in itself, and it is a very very profound and powerful teaching. Some of these teachings were written in one of the books, holy books from India, is Bhagavad Gita. And by the way, I'm not a Hindu, but I'm inspired by these books and myths. And I know that Martin Luther King and Gandhi, they were all inspired by these teachings around Dharma, because when we are coming close to our Dharma, we are close to evolution itself. So we are tapping into a tremendous power. It's the power that moves the planets. It's the power that beats the heart in your chest. It's the power, and this power we can, we can plug into, and in order to fulfill and manifest what our visions and dreams are.
Yeah, and that's, it's so valuable for people to understand that that's possible and to experience that in such a way that they feel not just a motivation, but inspiration to show others to be able to do the same thing. And I know that you tend to love studying mythology, things such as goddess traditions, and you like to share the models of awakening. And one of the most powerful goddesses I understand in the Indian pantheon is Durga. Tell us about who that is.
Yeah. So Durga, she is this incredible. The pictures of Durga and the stories about her shows her as a goddess who are riding on the big tiger. So the tiger symbolizes a tremendous power. And she is a relaxed goddess. She's one of the fierce goddesses that really kills demons and are going into battle. But she has a very gracious and relaxed expression of power. She is a role model of power that most of us have forgotten, because so often we think about power as almost like a tension, that we have to fight for our power, we have to compare, we have to prove ourselves. And in practicing with the power that Durga points us to, that tension and fighting for your power is actually hindering your power. She shows us that power is that alignment with your deepest values, alignment with love. Again, we can link it to the Dharma, alignment with Dharma, because the way we can feel our Dharma is really what makes our heart alive. What is it that matters, truly matters to each one of you? And that's where we find that vibration of Dharma. And that again, is where Durga draws her power. And that, again, is the power of evolution itself. So it's tremendously powerful, but it is accessed through relaxation. It is accessed through a vulnerability of really making it matters what it is that is important to you, and to take a stand for it. And for me, I've been practicing with Durga for many, many years, and it's an ongoing practice. I still feel like a beginner, but it's such a rewarding practice, especially for me who have felt the price of that kind of fighting for my power, which kind of tend to harm ourselves in that tension. If you look into Western women today, for example, I mentioned that I come from Norway, which is a country that has come furthest, I think, in the equality among gender. So one should think that women there would be ecstatic and very happy. But actually, Norway is one of the they are highest on the statistics on stress-related diseases among women. And that is really, we can see the consequences of this now many decades of this fighting for the power, playing the game as good as men without actually influencing the game in service for everybody. We have seen that men for many years have been dying of heart attacks way too early, that they are also suffering from the game that is created because it's imbalanced and not sustainable. But now we even see women, just the last decade, we see an increase in heart attacks among women and other stress-related diseases. So we see that way of power was an important step in evolution, but it's not sustainable. And here comes Durga in as a mirror and a role model of a different kind of power, which is actually accessed through relaxation an inner alignment and in integrity with our own values, and that's where this power begins to have space to move through us.
Now, in your work, you like to talk a lot about emotions as energy, and it's really interesting to take a look at that because women tend to be known as, people that feel emotional about things and they make emotional decisions and so forth. Let's talk about, how they can have that embodiment without having it get in the way of sharing their gifts with the world.
Yes. We do practice a lot with emotion. And one of the reasons is what you were saying, that oftentimes that's where we get stuck, we get overwhelmed, or we get emotions can get sticky. And what we discover when we are consciously working with emotions is that what we are calling an emotion is an energetic, it is to put it simple, it is a sensation in your body. It is an experience in your body of pressure or of wetness in the eyes or of clenching in the stomach, all of these different sensations. And then on top of that, or parallel to that, we also have the story that we glue onto those sensations. And the story and evaluation, if it's a good feeling or a bad feeling, or who caused the feeling, or if only he could change, I would feel different, that is the story that we glue on to these different emotions. And it is in this story that we have been trained to live. And it's actually a convenient way of not staying present with these different sensations in the body, because we have very little training to feel that much, or to feel that much aliveness in the body. So one of the ways we numb out is that we move into the mental realm around it. And that is oftentimes also been a way that we think about, but that's how I can control my feelings, is to be in the mental realm. But what the mental realm tends to do is because mental realm is not the expert in the emotions. So what the mental realm tends to do, again, is that kind of split of Uranus that begins to analyze and view the feelings in the body as an object. And we create tremendous stories about who caused it. And this is the way that we can keep feelings alive for a very long time. There's new research now that comes out that says that a feeling, it lasts 90 seconds. And in order for it to be experienced longer, we have to actually recreate it again. And that's what we do in these mental loops. We just recreate the same feeling, and that's how we can feel that we feel stuck in a feeling for a long time. But with practice, like we are doing in our circle, is that we move our awareness from the mental realm into the direct experience of the feeling, which is energy moving in your body. And energy, the nature of energy is that it's never static; it always moves. And then we can begin to create like a room of presence around this energy, that we have more space around them, and then we realize that they can flow through without us spinning off in a loop that can last forever and include a lot of other people and create a lot of consequences and move us so way into drama. In our circle, we have we are invited to feel the feeling as energy, and then we realize, it comes and it goes like the weather. And our life is no longer about getting rid of certain feelings or chasing other feelings. We realize that we can stay connected in presence no matter what we feel. And as long as we are in a body, we're going to feel a lot of things. And it doesn't have to be an obstacle for presence and connection and freedom.
Wow, it's so amazing to think of how empowering that is when you really sort of meditated on it, if you will. And, it's been a wonderful pleasure to have you here on the program to share this with our listeners. I'm wondering, is there a website, and do you have any kind of workshops coming up here in the near future? Yes.
I want to invite everybody who's interested to go to awakeningwomen.com. That's plural, awakeningwomen.com. And there you can learn more about our work and our organization. And I will also come to Portland in November 4th to 6th. It's a weekend from Friday to Sunday, where we are going to practice with the goddess Durga. So I invite anyone listening who are interested to explore more of these practices in the circle of conscious women to check that out. And all the information about that is at awakeningwomen.com.
So, Shamali, my final question is, when do you plan on running for President of the United States? I think I can find better ways to express my leadership elsewhere, right?
Well, luckily I was not born in America, so that's not even an option.
Well, Shamali, thank you so much for joining us here on the program today. And again, the website?
awakeningwomen.com.
awakeningwomen.com. Shamali, thank you so much for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program.
Thank you so much for having me.
You betcha. We want to thank you, the listeners out there, for tuning in. You can also discover more by visiting us at beyond50radio.com. That is the number 50. Sign up for our weekly e-newsletter. Stay up to date on what's going on in the Beyond 50 community, as well as what's coming up on upcoming shows. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Beyond 50 Radio as well. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Beyond 50 Radio program, and remember, live your day past halfway.